Why do we travel? What is it exactly that excites us so? You know, traveling is not just about seeing new landscapes, but about interacting with new people and experiencing different cultures. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I am Theodore Henry. This week's program kicks off with health as Get the Facts tackles vector control measures. Stay tuned as the magazine unfolds.
Hurricanes can strike at any time. In the event of one, be prepared to act quickly. If a hurricane watch or warning has been issued, review your home disaster response plan. Map out likely routes to evacuate if your home is at risk and confirm with relatives or friends you plan to stay with. Also, confirm the location of the nearest shelter. Check your emergency supplies and restock if necessary. Remember, disasters do happen, so be prepared.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness officially launched its Enhanced Vector Control Program in August as it continues the fight against mosquito-borne illnesses. Here to tell us more is the program's manager, Shireen Huntley-Jones.
Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm your host, Rose Campbell. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has increased activities under its vector control program in a bid to reduce the mosquito population and breeding sites. An island-wide campaign is ongoing, and Shireen Huntley-Jones, program manager for the vector control program, is our guest today. Mrs. Huntley-Jones, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Good. Please tell us, what are the activities under the vector control program and what are the coordinated initiatives that are used to deal with these activities?
All right. Every year during the months of June to September, the ministry enhances its vector control program. And what this means, in addition to our ongoing routine activities, we employ over 1,000 temporary workers to augment the activities on the ground. The ministry enhances its program during this time of the year because for Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean, if you're going to have an outbreak of one of our arboviruses, be it dengue or Zika virus or chikungunya, it tends to occur during the months of October to January of the following year. And so we enhance our program 3 months prior to, in an effort to reduce the possibility of that outbreak. So during the months of June to August, September, we take on 1,000 workers who are trained and deployed right across the island in all our 13 parishes in what we call our high-risk areas to carry out various activities.
So the activities would include?
So they're tasked with three main responsibility.
Yes.
One, they are to build awareness at the community level. In fact, the persons are selected from their own community, so they're familiar with the householders. So they're to build awareness. Secondly, they're asked to look for and destroy breeding sites. And for those breeding sites that they find that they cannot destroy, then they are also trained to treat those breeding sites.
Yes. Well, tell us about the importance of the program and like some of the risks that would be posed to persons who are exposed to mosquito bites and so on.
So as we know, there are 3 endemic mosquito-borne diseases now in Jamaica.
And they're now endemic.
Yes, means that we have them all the time. So since 2014, we have had chikungunya, which is now endemic. Since 2016, Zika has been endemic. And of course, we have always had dengue. So we have 3 vector-borne diseases,
Yes.
mosquito-borne diseases that are endemic.
Yes.
And they're all arboviruses.
Right. And talk to us about the training for the persons who are employed under this program.
So the employment of the 1,000 persons have become a part of our overall vector control program. And so we wanted to have a cohort of persons that we can select from every year that is very knowledgeable about the program. So in 2016, when our Honorable Minister, Dr. Tufton, came on, he asked that not only should we employ the persons, but to have them trained. And so we have been collaborating with Heart NTA in the training and certification of these programs. And an entire program was developed for this category of workers. And so approximately 800 have been trained so far and certified. And we will continue to do this because, as you know, persons leave the program, they become employed otherwise, or they go to school. So as we get new persons in, we continue through the collaboration with Heart NTA to train them.
Right. Now, these vector control aids, as you call them,
Right.
talk to us about which communities they're going to and so on.
Okay, so we have deployed them to what we call our high-risk communities. So based on our historical data in terms of Aedes aegypti infestation, based on our historical data relating to transmission of cases, based on what we call some environmental parameters, we have determined high-risk communities, areas in which we're likely to have transmission.
Yes.
And so the workers have been deployed to those communities. We have identified since 2018 534 of those communities, and so the workers are deployed right across the island in those 534 communities.
Yes.
In addition to those communities, they are working in our urban centers, they're working in our markets, and some other critical areas that we're likely to see transmission in.
Tell us about some of the breeding sites. Where are some of the places that you'll find breeding sites mostly?
So you know that we have always said that the Aedes aegypti mosquito is a domesticated mosquito. In fact, we do have another vector of the 3 viruses in Jamaica. It's called Aedes albopictus. So we have 2 vectors now in Jamaica that are able to transmit these 3 diseases. And they're domesticated mosquitoes, meaning that they're found breeding in and around where we live, play, and work, in containers. And so the containers that we're finding that are most prominent in our Jamaican setting is the 45 to 55 gallon drum. Every household seems to have a 45, 55 gallon drum, and those are our main breeding sites. Tires are our second, and you know, the small containers that lie around the home tend to lend themselves to breeding as well.
Right. So if people have to have these drums, what should they do to prevent the mosquitoes from breeding?
Right. So the first strategy that we ask persons to do is to cover those drums. Once the drums are covered, then the mosquito will not have access to breeding. We do understand that there are communities that they do not have piped water, and so they collect water from rainfall. So there is a resistance in covering. So we ask that you cover with a meshed material that allows the water to go in but will prevent the mosquito to go in. There's another strategy that they can use, just a little oil and pour a little oil on the surface of the water. What this does, it suffocates the immature stage of the mosquito, and so you won't have adults coming through.
Right. So how are the communities reacting to your work in the various areas? How are they reacting?
It's a mixed reaction. We have seen not much behavior change as it relates to the management of our water container, which is very disappointing to us. Because as I said before, the Aedes aegypti and the Aedes albopictus mosquito, they only tend to breed in these containers that are found in and around where we are. And if persons begin to take action to deal and manage properly with these containers, then we will see a reduction in the transmission of these diseases. So we're not seeing the levels of behavior change that we would like to see. In addition, there seems to be a little bit resistance of having our workers come into the homes. They have reported to us some violent activities against them. Some persons have been refusing to let them inside. And so this is also hampering our ability to be impactful as we would like to be.
Right, so people are hostile, which means they don't understand the work that you're doing, they don't value it.
Yes.
And so what are you going to do about that?
So the Ministry of Health, having received this report, we're going to be doing an educational campaign to explain to persons why the workers are there, why the workers need to access the home, because they need to come inside to search and to be able to point out to the householder where the issues are. So it's very important. So we're going to be engaged in a media campaign explaining the importance of having the workers access the home environment.
Yes. Let's take a break now, and we'll continue with more information on the Ministry of Health and Wellness Vector Control Program. Please stay with us.
If you now want pop down and fenke, you fi burn mosquito and run with dengue. So now make water cycle in open container. For them to breed up under the danger. Usher them out, run them away. Zap them with the zapper and down them with spray. Use mosquito net and mosquito screen. Protect your household, now make them come in. If you now want pop down and fenke, we fi burn mosquito and run with dengue. If pain lick your head and your joints and your eye, and you want fever meat and your temperature high, it could be dengue, don't hesitate. See a doctor, don't self-medicate. For some painkiller can make you bleed, and you will try to recover and no succeed. We now want pop down and fenke. We fi burn mosquito and run with dengue.
A message from the Ministry of Health.
Welcome back to Get the Facts with Shireen Huntley-Jones, Program Manager for the Vector Control Program in the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Tell us, so the fogging has been going on.
Yes.
How often do you do it, and how do you decide on the communities?
Well, under our enhanced program, fogging activity takes place every night. So we're fogging 7 days per week. We are focused based in areas depending on two things: the levels of the mosquito infestation and also from where we are getting reports of cases. So the schedule is made up based on those two parameters, and the activity is carried out every night. They're carried out every night.
Every night, where? How
Right
many?
across
Right across
the country, in all our 13 parishes. There's fogging.
Oh, all right. Speak to us about how the fogging is done and what should we be doing while this activity is taking place.
Right, so the fogging is done during the times of what we call dusk, just in that gray period. We tend to do it at that time because a lot of the species of mosquitoes that we want to target are very active at that time. However, the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which we know is a day-biting mosquito, by the time it gets dark, that mosquito tends to be sheltered. It's gone into rest.
Yes.
And so it's inside under our cupboards, in our closets, it's hiding. And so when our fogging teams are coming through, you would hear the Ministry of Health say, open your windows and doors. There is a reason for that, because the Aedes aegypti, it's on the inside. And so you have to allow the fog to drift on the inside to be able to get to the Aedes aegypti mosquito. And so once our teams are coming through, in the evenings, we have to open our windows and doors because the Aedes aegypti mosquito is not very active in flight at that moment.
It's not active, so it's but if it's not active, then it's not biting.
Well, that's an interesting thing though,
Yes.
because what we tend to do when we get home, the first thing we do is we turn on the lights on the inside.
Yes.
So once we turn on the artificial light, she becomes active. But if the environment is dark, Aedes aegypti tends to go into rest.
Okay. So you've spoken about how communities are hostile to you, but how engaged are the communities in these activities? Are you getting what kind of level of engagement?
It really does vary from community to community and from parish to parish. I think what we would like to say, that we'd like to see the community more involved and engaged. I visited a country, Brazil, on a workshop, and they had a system in place where the communities have actually formed a partnership with the Ministry of Health, and it's the community members that are monitoring their neighbors. So they do not have vector control workers from the Ministry of Health visiting the homes, but their neighbors are visiting the homes and then making the reports to the Ministry of Health. And I found that it was quite successful. I think we'd like to see more of that here in Jamaica, where the community takes the responsibility, where community members are actually doing the inspection and the reporting. And so there's ownership. So I think we'd like to see more ownership of the program at the community level.
That means more interaction with the public then.
Definitely,
right.
definitely.
So we had a massive outbreak of Chikungunya in 2014.
Yes.
Tell us, what are the lessons learned?
What we found since the outbreak of Chikungunya in 2014 and with Zika in 2016, that there are a lot of factors lending to the breeding of mosquitoes in and around our environment. We've also learned that behavior change is not a short-term objective, but it is a long-term objective. And so in light of that, the Ministry of Health has been looking at its public awareness campaigns and its behavior change program with a view of implementing strategies that will help us to achieve our behavior change objectives, which is simply to get persons to properly manage their breeding, the breeding containers in and around their environment. I think another lesson that we learned from Chikungunya and from Zika is that partnership with our stakeholders and our sister agencies is very critical.
Yes, yes.
A lot of the factors that lend themselves to the breeding of mosquitoes, it's outside of the mandate of the Ministry of Health to address. And so we have to have what we call a joint-up approach with all government, all stakeholders, to be able to tackle successfully the factors that lend themselves to breeding. And so out of the both outbreaks, I think we have a stronger collaborative approach in dealing with the disease in Jamaica. In fact, we have one of the greatest models in the Caribbean, if I can say that. And so we have been working closely with our sister agencies, such as the National Solid Waste Management Authority, We work closely with Parish Council and the National Works Agency in dealing with the issues that lend themselves to the breeding of the mosquitoes.
Yes, yes. We're approaching the dengue period,
Yes.
and already we have some confirmed cases.
Indeed.
Tell us, what can we do as a nation
Yes.
to prevent having more dengue cases?
Definitely.
So we need to look, you tell us how
Yes.
to treat or what we're to do.
Before I get into the strategies, I want us to have an understanding, a greater understanding about dengue and the epidemiology of dengue. Over the years, we have treated dengue at the household level, like a common flu. You get dengue, you feel a little better, and then it's gone. But what we have seen in our last recent outbreaks is that we're having increased hospitalization and, unfortunately, increased death. And this is just not in Jamaica, this is across the Caribbean. And this is so because in our region, we have had all 4 serotypes of dengue circulating. And that means that most of us would have been exposed to having dengue more than once. And it is proven that once you've had dengue twice or more, you're predisposed to becoming severely ill each time you get it. Right,
yes.
and so our population has been exposed to all 4 serotypes. So we're seeing increasing cases. Against that background, we have to take action. We cannot continue to treat dengue as the common cold that you just get over. We're seeing that our children are being affected, and we're seeing deaths. And any death, it's just one death is unacceptable to us at the Ministry of Health. And so there is a call to action from the ministry to the population that we have to begin to manage our environment in a way that it will not cause us to become ill.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. And we know now that once you have dengue, it doesn't mean that's the only time you can have it again. So you need to take care of yourselves and your communities. This has been Get the Facts with our guest, Shereen Huntley-Jones, Program Manager for the Vector Control Program in the Ministry of Health and Wellness. To watch this program again, log on to our social media handle, YouTube/WatchJIS, and stay connected via our website at jis.gov.jm. Until next time, I'm Anthros Campbell. Take care.
When you're on the road, take your time. When you're on the road, bear this in mind. When you're on the road, you could save a life when you're on the road.
Known as the home of the fastest man in the world, as well as the place where you can get some good yam, Trelawney has so much to offer. Let's go on a journey.
In Trelawney, there's a little of this and a little of that. So all you have to do is come discover and experience. Okay. Rafting on the Montego River is part of the offerings here in Trelawney. So when next you're in the parish, come on down. Captain JK, take it away.
Yeah, man. No lele. We don't play. This is how we stay. Everything gotta be okay.
High five.
Blessed. Yeah, man.
So how long you have been doing this for?
I've been doing this over 2 decades now.
Oh, 20 years.
So I know this stuff quite well, you know?
Okay.
But actually we're on the rapids now, you know?
Wait, stop. We can't end this moment so soon. No, sir. Hold this frame for a little while till we go check out some other places and come back.
Welcome to Falmouth All-Age School, once the home of Fort Belcaris. This fort was built in 1811. It was built to protect the harbour and the town of Falmouth. Falmouth in those days was a boom town, booming, it had a lot of money, and so persons would like to come in and plunder, so this was built. Soldiers were housed in the building at the back, and they were the ones who were manning the fort.
And this is where the armory was stored.
Now, in later years, the fort was used no more, and so in 1902, it became the Falmouth All-Age School.
Now check out this almond tree. It is said to have been around before or from the days of Fort Belcaris, which means it is well over 200 years.
This mill behind me here is a relic of the slave plantation and of the sugar production when sugar was king in the 18th century. It is part of a large estate called Holland Estate. The thing about it is, this property no longer belongs to a slave holder, no longer belongs to a sugar plantation, but is actually the site of William Knibb Memorial High School, named after the famous emancipator, William Knibb. It is quite ironic that in a place where slavery thrived and our forefathers suffered, now sits an institution of learning for the descendants of those very same slaves. Ironic, isn't it?
It's all about the nightlife here in Trelawney as well, where you can experience the colorful transformation of the glistening waters luminous lagoon.
To capture this part of my tour, I had to start the night before.
We do nightly boat rides. You can come on down and see the flashes of light once the water is being disturbed. We are the only natural night attraction in Jamaica, and it is also known as the world's famous luminous lagoon.
We had a magical experience tonight. It was a great time. Highly recommend it. We'll definitely be back.
It's nothing like it in the world. I've never seen anything like this. So awesome time.
Glistening waters to the world.
You see why you have to come to Trelawney? And if bargain is what you want, then Bend Down is the place to be. What go on, my friend? All right, tell me, what's so popular about Bend Down?
Bend Down, everybody can come here so can get cheap goods, cheap clothes, everything.
Oh, so how you get the name Bend Down?
People from all over Ireland, you know, just come here so they just throw down their things anywhere and sell.
Oh, and people used to have to just bend down and
people
pick up
just
the
bend
stuff
down
and
and
things
take up
there.
anything.
All right, so I'm here for some bargain, so maybe I should bend down and pick up mine. Bargain for real. $100, another 100, another 100, 300, and I'm going for more. All right, thanks. All right, thanks here.
I like my Paris Trelawney because the water is so cool, it's been cool and nice. And I like the environment is so clean and the new market is so amazing. That's why I love my Paris Trelawney. Big up Trelawney.
Here's more about this parish.
It's all about peace and tranquility, ambience and relaxation, you know? Yeah, man. Bless up.
After a long day exploring Trelawney, this is the perfect end. Just relaxing on the Martha Gray River. Until next time, when I catch you around the bend. Later.
Thanks for watching another edition of Jamaica Magazine. Join us again tomorrow when we'll do this all over again. Send your feedback on today's show to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm. Also, you can follow us on our social media pages, that's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Download our app on your Apple and Android devices, and you can also visit our website at jis.gov.jm for more information. On behalf of the entire production crew, I am Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.